In the final years of the Third Reich, as Allied bombs fell on Berlin and the dream of a 1,000-year Reich crumbled to ash, the Nazis destroyed millions of documents. Entire archives were reduced to dust. Records that could incriminate, that could reveal, that could expose, all burned. But some records were not burned. They were removed. Extracted with surgical precision from official archives. Classified with codes that not even high-ranking officers knew. Transported under armed escort to unknown locations. Not because they were false, but because they were too real. What you're about to hear should never have survived history. This is the story of a Nazi ritual, so deeply hidden that it was erased from the past. And when history deliberately erases something, when documents disappear not by accident but by decision, perhaps it's because some truths are considered too dangerous to exist. To understand this ritual, you must accept something uncomfortable, something that few history books reveal in depth. The Nazi leadership didn't rely solely on political ideology. It wasn't just about territorial control or racial supremacy as we understand it in classrooms. There was another layer, an older layer, a darker one. They believed that history concealed keys, ancient keys, keys that could unlock a power humanity had forgotten. Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, the man responsible for some of history's most horrific crimes, was obsessed with something beyond conventional warfare. His interests included Germanic and Norse pagan mythology, lost civilizations like Atlantis and Hyperborea, sacred symbols predating Christianity, runes and their supposed esoteric power, ancient bloodlines. For Himmler, true power came not just from politics, tanks, troops, but from ritualistic knowledge, from access to forces that organized religions had deliberately suppressed. He believed that Christianity had buried Europe's true legacy, and that this legacy, if recovered, could change the war's outcome. This belief wasn't merely philosophical, it was operational, and it led to the creation of a secret organization, the Ahnenerbe, a name few know, a name that was purposely erased from the dominant historical narrative. Officially, the Ahnenerbe was a historical research institute, Society for Research into the Heritage of German Ancestry. That's how it appeared in public documents, founded in 1935 with Himmler's seal of approval. In practice, it was something very different. Its true mission was to prove that the Aryan race descended from a superior ancestral civilization, possibly extraterrestrial or of Atlantean origin. Certain ancient rituals could awaken a dormant power in Germanic blood. Symbols, chants, and pre-Christian ceremonies had measurable effects on physical reality. The Ahnenerbe didn't just hire archaeologists, it hired occultists, mystics, people who had studied forbidden traditions, individuals other academics considered charlatans or madmen. They sent expeditions to Tibet, searching for manuscripts on energy manipulation, Scandinavia, looking for preserved Viking ritual sites, the Balkans, investigating pre-Roman cults that survived in secret, Iceland, collecting oral versions of sagas never written down. These expeditions cost fortunes. Resources that could have been used on the battlefront were diverted to excavations in remote ruins, to purchasing manuscripts on black markets, to bribing monks and guardians of ancestral traditions. Why? Because someone in high command believed it would work. But one of these missions never appeared in official records. Not because it failed, but because it worked. Or at least, because something happened. Something that couldn't be explained by accepted scientific paradigms. Something that even the Nazis, accustomed to atrocities, considered too disturbing to officially document. Fragments recovered after the war describe a ceremonial operation conducted far from Berlin, sometime between 1942 and 1943. The exact year was removed from the documents. The location was chosen with extreme care. Ancestral ground, used for rituals since the Bronze Age. Pre-Christian importance proven by archaeological artifacts. Known in local folklore as cursed, or territory of the ancients. Specific geomagnetic alignment, according to Ahnenerbe measurements. The ritual was not symbolic. It wasn't theater to impress officers or boost troop morale. It followed a precise structure, documented in surviving fragments. Timing, aligned with specific astronomical cycles, possibly a solstice or equinox under specific planetary configuration. Objects, recovered from ancient sites in different countries, each with supposed energetic charge preserved through the centuries. Participants, 13 SS members, chosen by bloodline, not military hierarchy. Chance, reconstructed from fragmented manuscripts in Proto-Germanic and even older languages. A circle was traced on the ground with mathematical precision. Symbols were drawn with substances the documents don't specify. Participants fasted for 3 days before the event. The objective was not worship, it was invocation. Invocation of what? The documents use vague terms: primordial forces, ancestral consciousnesses, that which slept before. According to surviving testimonies, and here we enter even more nebulous territory. The temperature dropped suddenly, despite it being summer. Some participants suffered psychological breakdowns, screaming in languages they didn't know. An officer, an Eastern Front veteran accustomed to horrors, refused to continue and disappeared days later. His body was never found. There were reports of presences in the circle, forms that observers couldn't adequately describe. Measuring instruments failed simultaneously. After the ritual, all documentation received the classification Schwarze, a level above top secret, a level that theoretically shouldn't even exist. Only 3 copies of the final report were made. Shortly after, these archives simply vanished. They weren't transferred. They weren't filed. They vanished. When the Third Reich began to crumble, when it became clear the war was lost, direct orders were issued from SS High Command. Not to save important documents, but to eliminate specific traces. Ahnenerbe reports were rewritten, sanitized versions were created, removing any mention of anomalous events. Fragmented, specific pages were removed, making documents incomprehensible, or completely removed from official archives as if they had never existed. But why? If they were just failed experiments or superstitions of desperate leaders, why the effort to erase them? Some historians believe that parts of these records were confiscated by the Allies after the war. That special intelligence teams had access before the Nuremberg trials. That certain documents never reached public archives because they were considered relevant to national security, not of the Nazis, but of the victorious powers. Others claim something more disturbing, that certain documents were considered too dangerous for any nation to keep, that the content was so unsettling, so beyond accepted paradigms, that a joint decision was made. Bury it forever, not out of shame for what the Nazis did. That was already widely documented, but out of fear of what they may have discovered. Today, only fragments exist. Personal notes in officers' diaries, written in codes or cipher language. Indirect testimonies from people who heard stories from third parties. Cross-references in incomplete Ahnenerbe files kept in different museums and national archives. Accounts from local peasants about the strange night when German soldiers performed something forbidden. No document describes the ritual in its entirety. No photos survived, if any were taken. But all fragments agree on one thing. After that event, even veteran SS members, men who had supervised concentration camps without hesitation, refused to speak about the matter. Not out of loyalty to secrecy, but out of genuine fear. As if something had been released, or perceived. As if a door had been cracked open, and they had seen what was on the other side. Perhaps the ritual didn't work. Perhaps it was just desperate men performing useless occult theater while their empire crumbled. Or perhaps it worked too well. Perhaps they touched something that shouldn't be touched, invoked something that shouldn't be invoked, opened something that shouldn't be opened. History as we know it was written by the victors. But some pages weren't torn out in vengeance or propaganda. They were erased as a precaution. And sometimes, What was removed from history isn't what the victors wanted to hide. It's exactly what should never be found. By anyone, ever. Some secrets don't disappear because they were solved. They just wait. Buried in classified archives, fragmented in memories of witnesses who died without speaking, hidden in museum basements where the public never enters, never to be discovered again. Because maybe, just maybe, there are things humanity shouldn't know, not out of ignorance, but for survival, but for